consciousness, recognizing oneness, no separation of you and I or that of this. We are playing a long game, everyone wins the same. I allow all things to exist today. I allow all things to exist in their own way. I exist in my own way, and I am a powerful creatress, living in the matrix, source of all wisdom in this bliss kingdom. We will all manifest, we will all rise, raising our consciousness, opening our eyes. We can do anything as long as we try. Whoever said that the limit was the sky? I have a dream and I'm living it every day, learning not to let my fears get in the way. Oh, and I'm reaching in myself, and oh, smile at what I'm feeling. Know that you are God and God is love. When you pray to above. When you pray below. When you pray, you can pray to yourself, because you know that you are so powerful. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are so powerful. And you are the one you've been waiting for. There's more to be aware of, nothing to be scared of. We have a relationship with spirit, guided by the instinct, intuition. Don't think of you and live this life alone. Oh no, we were born into a world so vast. We got to slow down and not move too fast. We have been given the gift of life. Blessed are these days and sacred are these nights. Oh, and I'm reaching in my soul. Oh, just to find all that I knew. We are part of a circle of family. And how long will it take for us to see? And how long will it take for us to be? And what more could we possibly think we need? Just breathe. We are so powerful. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are so powerful. We are the ones waiting for. So powerful, and I am the one I've been waiting for. I am
Hey everyone,
so powerful.
welcome. Just wanted to play you one of my favorite songs that gets me going. So great to see so many of you on our final night of Tend Her. I can hardly believe that we've reached class 4. We've made it to the end, and I'm really grateful that all of you have committed time, energy, awareness, presence. It's been really powerful. I've heard from lots of people, and I know that the ripples just kind of continue to go out. So tonight is integration night. So I've thrown a lot at you in 3 short weeks, right? And so tonight I want to use our time to really just let this content settle a little bit deeper. I feel like integration work is the work of a lifetime. I have come to a place of understanding in my own system and life that we don't ever actually really cut out any parts of ourself or any of the experiences we've had in our life. Our work, I think, is to really integrate, to bring things together, to unify, to hold, as I've been saying this whole class, hold the light and the dark simultaneously. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Clearly, a review tonight, a little new content, and then a practice. So we're going to go into some practice tonight. And then, as always, at the end of this hour, it should take about an hour for us to be together. Then I stay on the second hour to have conversation, answer questions. You can certainly put things in that chat box. My good friend Monica is here tonight and really co-creator of this whole experience, and she's going to watch that chat box. If you do have a particular question, you can put it in that, or you can put it in the Q&A box, and I'll make sure to get to that in the second half. So yay, over 100 of us here tonight. There was a total of 1,049 people signed up for Attend Her. So I know that no matter when people are consuming this or working with these teachings, these practices, the meditations, we're at least 1,000 strong, which is really quite something. We're going to talk more about that. I hope you've been enjoying the 21-day meditation series. We've got 2 more days. I think that's right, Monica? 2 more days. So it's been quite a joy to create it and to re-listen to them again. So I'm hopeful that they made a difference for you. I heard from many people that they're like, wow, this was exactly the message I needed to hear today. And of course, that is very unplanned. That is called grace. That just sort of works its way through this whole experience. So we're very grateful for that. And then there are a couple spots left at the Hope Summit. We would love to nourish you, support you. The food is amazing. We've got a beautiful gift basket for participants. And I just remember after last year's summit, which we did on resilience, I left in sort of awe of that many women being together in one room and just the collective power and kindness and acceptance that permeated this space. And I know this year will be no different. I also just talked to Erin, who owns Little Lights on the Lane. And if you sign up today or anytime between now and Friday, and you bring a friend, you sign up, encourage that friend to sign up as well, we're going to give you a free t-shirt. So if you haven't already done this, or you think, oh, there is that friend, get them to sign up, and there will be a Hope Summit t-shirt waiting for you as well. All right, here's where we start tonight. I do believe that or perhaps one of the most important things we do in this lifetime is to know ourselves. And that image at the top means or says, know thyself. It is in Apollo's temple at Delphi in Greece. And it was put there, they believe, somewhere about 500 BC. So even ancient people were curious or had a sense that the process of going in and knowing thyself and looking at thyself was an important and noble process. I also found this image this week of a piece of art entitled Know Thyself, which I thought was also very powerful, in that it really is us holding the light and the dark. There's both light, there's both dark, there's jewels, there's animals, there's all kinds of stuff when we're willing to go in and look at ourselves. And so again, just really honoring whatever process you've been in these last 3 to 4 weeks of looking at yourself. We talked in class 1 that resistance often accompanies this process of knowing thyself. We find ourselves up against stuff we don't really want to attend to, or maybe don't feel like we have the resources or the know-how to attend to. And yet the process of continuing to hold up the mirror to ourselves, to understand where we feel expansive in life, where we feel contracted in life, is a really important and worthy use of our time and our energy. So I know that I'll be on this path of knowing thyself. It never ends. And I know many of you, probably all of you, if you're doing this, are on this path as well. And just the encouragement to stay the course. Now, to practice hope, we have to work with reality. And so this means we can't actually wear those rose-colored glasses and just sort of hope and believe that everything is going to work out, nor can we doom scroll and stay looped in that place of seeing everything that is wrong in the world. Because if we look, we will always see what is wrong in the world. So to practice hope, we really have to be willing to hold both of the dark and the light simultaneously. And we've talked so much, I think every class I've probably shown this slide, that when we work with hope, we're working with paradox. We're working with this capacity, or building this capacity in ourselves to hold both challenge and joy, despair and hope, light and dark. That our work is, can I hold all of it without making one of them wrong or bad? Like, it's all a part of this tapestry that we call being human, this tapestry of life. So I think this came from class 2. We spent time talking about the fact that we're all carrying darkness. We're all carrying, we could also call it contraction, confusion, guilt, shame, trauma, and what we're carrying that may feel dark. And again, I wouldn't call darkness bad, right? It's not bad or good, it just is. But this darkness comes from collective, the culture we live in. We talked in that second class about our culture is toxic. We also talked about ancestral trauma and how we're often carrying sort of the tyranny of the past that we came from, and also that we all have our own personal stuff as well. And yet, there's something called the Hermetic principle of polarity. And Hermetic principles came from about, I went and looked, 1st century AD. And the Hermetic ideas were thought to heavily influence the Greek and the Roman cultures. But it's the idea that there are two poles. There is hot and cold, light and dark, positive and negative. And that, again, it's our work to integrate. That the opposites are actually not different. They're the same on the same line, just at opposite ends of the spectrum. And so if we are going to look at our shadow, work with the stuckness in our own system, that then means we are going to carry more light. And this was a teaching for me that went back early in my study of yoga. I remember a teacher saying, the more work you do sort of consciously wading into your shadow, the more light you will exude in the world. And in fact, I believe that sometimes the brightest lights we see in the world have walked the darkest paths. And it's because these two things are sort of united. They're the same coin, just different sides. So just like we all carry darkness, we all carry huge amounts of light, collective light, ancestral light. We have a lot of gifts from our ancestors, and we all carry a lot of personal light as well. In fact, you literally are light. I actually did not know the breakdown of the word human until it came into my awareness this week. That literally the word human means just light manifested in the body. So each of you are your own light, and we all have a deep capacity, and I believe, a deep mission to share our light with the world. So what does this all mean? We're going to get into this a little deeper tonight. So last week, we ended class with the story of the Golden Buddha, 6-ton pure gold statue of the Buddha that was literally covered with cement when it was heard at this ashram that the people were coming in that were potentially going to pillage the village and the ashram. And so they covered it with stone and concrete, and it stayed that way for literally centuries. People forgot that there was this 6-ton golden, pure gold Buddha underneath all of that concrete. And I used this story and this image as sort of symbolism for the process we all go through of truly forgetting our worth. like really forgetting that we are brilliant beyond measure, that we are so worthy of anything and everything that comes our way, and that we have immeasurable gifts. I think in the last week you received a meditation called the City of Jewels, which is this idea that within all of us, contained within all of us, are jewels that we can't even fathom, the gifts that we all carry. I heard somewhere on a podcast in this last week that if we could actually fathom how much potential we carry, it would blow us away. And so this image of the Golden Buddha, I go back to it often, especially at the times where I feel very layered over with concrete. I've forgotten my worth. I've forgotten that I'm here for something bigger than the stress that's right in front of me in that moment. And this is sort of what in many spiritual traditions they call this dance between remembering and forgetting, remembering and forgetting. So what are your gifts? What is your purpose? This is one of the questions I want you to sit with and work with, not only tonight, but probably for the rest of your life. And the source of our gifts is, I would say, as much a mystery as anything else in life. We don't know why. I don't know why my good friend Monica can draw so beautifully. I don't know why I can read books and it just stays in my mind and I can integrate it in certain ways. Why can the next person run a 4-minute mile, right? We all have these gifts and we don't know why. Why can certain people sing with these beautiful voices? I don't know why we get the gifts that we get, but we have them. And again, I think our job is to align with what those gifts are and then serve the world through them. There's a classic teaching that comes from the Bhagavad Gita, a spiritual text, a beautiful text that says, when you know who you are, then you know how to act. So when we remember the truth of who we are, then the decision making about where to put our time and our energy, how to be of service to the world aligns more clearly. So again, the idea of knowing thyself, why it's so important, it's our guidance for knowing, what am I here to do? How am I here to serve? How am I here to make this world a more beautiful place? And this service doesn't have to be a major undertaking. There are many ways for us to serve, but the point is we are here, I believe, in service to each other. So I don't know where I learned this, but when my children were all babies, and I literally started this with my firstborn, who's now 19 and in college. I know I'd read it somewhere, but the idea was that when your babies are young, you whisper into their ears while they're sleeping, be who you are. So I literally did this practice with all 3 of my children, that when they were babies, I literally would whisper into their ears every time I'd go into that room and they were asleep, be who you are. I don't know why this came to me, why I read it and then it's stuck. And I don't know if my children, this message got in a deep way that they will be able to settle into who they are. But I think this is my wish, not only for them, but for myself, that we all figure out what our purpose is, what makes us tick, and we do it. And the interesting thing is that no one really cares what you're doing with your life except for you. That can feel both exhilarating and depressing at the same time. But I'm going to say it again. No one cares what you're doing as much as you do. This is your life. How are you going to spend your precious time here? And there is a beautiful book that I read many, many years ago. I think it's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's written by a hospice nurse who had sat with many, many people at their deathbeds. The number one regret that people have on their deathbed is, I wish that I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. So here we are again. Can I live a life that's true to myself rather than the life that is expected of me? We all have this possibility. I really believe that. This meme, I've used this slide so many times because this little girl, she just speaks to me, right? She is still in there in all of us. This vibrant, alive, brilliant young self is still in us. And there is a beautiful spiritual teaching that comes from the Gospel of Thomas. If you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. And I also believe that if you bring forth what is within you, it will save others, right? We're here in connectivity with the world. And so if we save ourselves, we save the collective. And likewise, if you choose to play it small, if you choose to hold back, if you choose safety over courage, what you do not bring forth can destroy you. So again, the teaching is that we are here again to take action. We are here to be in action versus inaction. So the way I have been thinking about hope all these months of being with it is that it is the bridge. It is the bridge between the light and the dark. It is the bridge between despair and seeing a path forward. And when you think about a bridge connects two things. Again, it's the great integrator, we could say. And yet it requires action, right? The bridge, we can't just look at the bridge and hope that we're going to get to the light. We actually have to take the steps. We have to take action. We have to move across the bridge, back and forth between the dark and the light. So hope, inherent in hope, is action. And this is why I actually love the construct of hope so much, that there is no passivity with hope. Now, I think I shared in that first class, it's very common for us to say, well, I hope it works out, or I hope you get that job, or I hope you feel better. That's not the kind of hope we're talking about. The kind of hope we've been living in these last 4 weeks is courageous hope, and it's the hope that requires us to take those steps across that bridge. So I want to talk tonight, and this is going to be our new content, and we're going to go into a practice that tonight's class is all about how are you going to act? What's the action you're going to take? What are you going to choose to do with this one wild and precious life that you've been given, as Mary Oliver would say? So I want to talk about hope from a collective place, an ancestral place, and a personal place. So we're going to cover the full gamut here. Now, I'm not making any assumptions about the actions you're going to take. Taking action in all three of these might feel like, whoa, that is too much. And sometimes taking action means saying no. Like, no, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to rest. I'm going to take a pause. But I want to at least plant seeds that it's possible for us to take hope, take action in these three different aspects of our life. So we're going to start in the collective. So I'm going to be asking you lots of questions. So these are good questions to journal on. These are great questions if you're in a small group to talk about in your small group. These are great questions to get together with a friend and ask, because I think they can really change the course for us if we really are honest. It requires some honesty with ourselves. So my first question is, who do you spend your time with? Who are the people you are mostly around? People rarely remember what you say or what you did for them. It's kind of something we understand, but they will remember the energy that you bring. They will remember how you make them feel. And so who are you around? Are you around people that make you feel good, that lift you up, that have your back, that mirror to you who you are, that point out what they love about you and also point out maybe the things that they see are tripping you up? You know, who are those people in your life? Or are you spending more time around people that tend to exhaust you or bring you down or make you question yourself? Do you walk away from certain connections being like, why am I in so much doubt right now? Why am I like totally not trusting myself. So it's really important for us to consider, who are the people, what are the circles that we're in? And just like a virus can easily spread through a population and bring people down, so can goodness and wellness and hope and joy and love, right? So it's so important for us to really understand how interconnected we all are. I've shared this slide before in other talks that I've given, but I wanted to bring it in because this book, when I read this book, Connected, man, it kind of just opened my mind to how interconnected. So we've all heard that you're like 7 degrees away from Kevin Bacon, that idea of like, we're all interconnected, 7 degrees. Well, these are, I think these are Stanford, Harvard trained scientists. They actually found out we're 6 degrees of separation from everyone on this planet, and that that the people that we hang around, their happiness makes a big difference to our happiness. So our ability to influence the happiness of others stretches out 3 degrees, meaning if we have a happy friend, that stretches out to people in our circle out 3 degrees. So our capacity to ripple out goodness to each other is really powerful. And the other piece from this book that stood out to me is that negative things like, anger, vitriol, does not spread as fast as the good. So that gave me a lot of peace in my own heart when I read that. So you must, before you do anything else, guard against your own hopelessness. The people who tell you it is hopeless, that the world is ending, are not your allies. Yes, we must be realistic about the problems of the world, but we cannot allow realism to overwhelm our capacity to keep trying. This was one of the favorite books that I read about hope by Rebecca Solnit, Hope in the Dark. I recommend it to all of you. She is a poet and a social activist, and she actually wrote it good 10, 12 years ago, but it's still very relevant today. So the highlighted part here is that when people tell us it's hopeless, that the world is ending, that there's nothing to live for, that things are falling apart, that we can't trust anyone, just remembering that these perhaps are not our allies. We have to guard our energy and guard our mind from this kind of a mental set, because as we have established over and over in this class, our mind will go towards negativity. Our mind will go towards what is wrong in the world. That's how our minds are wired. So we have to actually put in extra effort to move towards the side of hope. So the second question I want to pose about creating hope from this collective space is, how are you managing your cliques? This actual phrase came to me from speaker and podcaster and writer Rob Bell. He was actually just in Iowa City, and he did an all-day workshop that I went to, and he talked about this. And so I thought, this is really important for us to pay attention to. So said another way, how are you using your energy? How many tabs do you have open on your computer? How many books are you reading that are next to your bed? How many things have you said yes to? How full is your calendar? How much energy are you giving away? Sometimes taking action does mean paring things down, right? Letting things fall away that are draining you of your life force rather than adding to your life force. The writer Anne Dilliard, who I've loved this quote for years, says, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. So what are your days like? How are you managing your clicks? And also, they're tracking our clicks, right? Like, what are you clicking on? Are you clicking on that bait? Are you clicking on the stories and the negative news that is just adding to our collective angst? So I think it's actually really important for all of us to take sort of an inventory of, how am I using my energy? Am I putting it towards fear mongering? Am I spending a lot of time going down these rabbit holes that actually aren't helping me? Or am I choosing to put my precious energy towards things that actually create more vibrancy in me and in the world around me? So where we put our time, where we put our money, where we put our energy, it makes a big difference. And I think it is important for us to really sit with, how am I managing my precious energy? And then the last question I want to pose to you from sort of this collective realm is, what do you think of change? Are you a person that embraces it, or do you resist it? I actually tend to be a little bit more of a resistor to change, even though, of course, we all know change is the only constant. And I want to speak just to a moment to these times we're living in. I mean, these are kind of unprecedented times in terms of change. Things are happening at a very quick rate. And we can view this as sort of like, holy cow, I'm alive right now. Like, I am living through all of this change. Or we can see it as like, what a nightmare. Can you believe what's happening in the stock market, right? Like, we get to choose how we think about the fact that life is changing at a very rapid pace. Again, Rebecca Solnit says, hope locates itself in the premises that we don't know what will happen, and that in the spaciousness of uncertainty, there is room to act. When you recognize uncertainty, you recognize that you may be able to influence outcomes. So I want you just to actually land in your body for a moment. I'm landing in mine again. I'm feeling my feet. I'm feeling my pelvis. I'm feeling my back. And I want you just to see if you can actually get a visceral sense of the spaciousness of uncertainty. I love that phrase. What does the spaciousness of uncertainty feel like to you? What does the spaciousness of uncertainty feel like in your body? Well, Rebecca Solnit would teach that it's when there's uncertainty, whoa, cool. This is a real chance for me to influence outcome. It's not set in stone. It's really uncertain. What's going to happen? Whoa, I might be able to be a real change maker here. So I love this idea of that, when there's uncertainty, there's also a spaciousness around it that feels to me, in my own body, it feels actually pretty good. You might have a different experience. I'm not saying that there's a good or bad or right or wrong. There is a feminist writer and teacher, Susan Griffin, who writes, I've seen enough change in my life to know that despair is not only self-defeating, it's unrealistic. So it's going to change. Even if it feels really dark right now, it's going to change. It's all going to change. So this is where, I think this was class 3, we talked about courage, curiosity, and creativity. This is from, it was from class 3, our mind, that can we practice courage? Can we practice curiosity? I wonder how this is going to go. Can we practice that capacity we have to really envision and use our imagination to envision something different? All right, so this was the collective. Let's talk about hope, the actions we can take in the ancestral realm. So what actions can I take to heal 7 generations back and 7 generations forward? So you may have heard of this concept. I've talked about it a fair amount. It actually comes from the Native American tradition, specifically the Iroquois and the Lakota tribes. They really taught that when you're considering making decisions, you need to think about how it's going to impact 7 generations going forward. and that when you choose to do your own healing work, it can reach back 7 generations back. And so it's this idea that, again, this deep interconnection that we have to our ancestors and also to the children and the young people going forward. And so the work we choose to do internally with ourselves and in our communities, how are we healing backwards and forwards? So I have actually been sitting with this question this week. What's the healing ancestral work I'm doing? And I think for me, I realized in the process of all of this work in this last month on hope that I think I'm trying to heal and work with my voice. So like most people my age, I'm 50. The generations of women who came before me, specifically my grandmas and my great-grandmas, weren't able to use their voice in the same way that I am. I realize that. Even if they had a brilliant idea or they wanted to create a company or do something, they were more limited than I am in this generation. I've long felt when I meditate that there is almost like an energetic collar around. I've been working with it for a long time, and it's not gone away. I think I need to integrate it instead of assume it's going to go away. It sort of feels like that one of those puritanical, energetic, like collars, white collars they used to wear. And so when I feel that, it's sort of a reminder to me of like, are you an honest speech and are you speaking your truth? And the hard part, at least for me, of speaking truth is that a lot of times people don't want to hear it. And so learning to speak truth no matter what, to me, is something I'm really working on, not only to perhaps free up my grandmothers who didn't get to always speak their mind, but to free my daughter, to free my beautiful 13-year-old teenage daughter. I want her to be who she is, and I want her to feel like she has the right to say no and to speak up and to say, that's not okay with me, and I'm not good with that. And so I feel like any work that I do around my throat is hopefully healing backwards and forwards. So I want you to perhaps think about what actions can I take to heal something maybe in my lineage. And because it's all connected, it's all the same line, whatever I heal back heals forward, and whatever I heal forward heals back. So just again, another thing for you to consider. And then last but not least, the realm of the personal. What are the actions for you to be taking personally in your life? So there's 3 questions I want to pose here. What actions does my body need? In fact, you could just take a moment to, once again, drop into those feet, drop into that pelvis. What actions does my body need? Does my body need more rest? Does my body need to breathe more? Does my body need to move? What comes to you as you tap into your body? And of course, we talked about all kinds of tools to regulate our nervous system, regulate our body. And this is not an exhaustive list. There's so many ways. And your body might be giving you messages, go to the doctor, call my friend, receive a hug from someone. But coming back over and over to, what actions do my body need? Next question, how can I quiet my mind? So week 2, we worked with the body. Week 3, we worked with the mind. If I were to sum up week 3, the way we work with our mind is we quiet our mind, because the mind is not going to stop. We talked about those 8 important things to know about the mind, which were your mind is connected to your body. The mind always thinks it's in charge. The mind is always working and never satisfied. So remember, 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. The mind is wired towards negativity. The mind ruminates and creates story that may not always be true. The mind is malleable. The mind is creative. and the mind can quiet down. It just takes us engaging in things like meditation to begin to try to slow down some of the busyness that is really inherent in the human mind. This picture that I have up here, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but this was a little statue that I actually bought in college at Pier 1 when there were still Pier 1s. I had declared psychology as my major and I wanted to show how committed I was to the human mind. Well, I want to show you what happened. So last week I was with you on Monday night. I walked into my office on Tuesday morning and so that human mind is on a shelf up above. I have literally no idea. There's another piece of art that had fallen. I don't know if a door got slammed, but there was sort of a wood piece of art that didn't break. And then my mind, and literally it shattered into thousands of pieces, little shards of, this glass. And of course I sat and I thought, what is the symbolism of this? What this is such a random thing, that this one thing on a shelf with all kinds of stuff up there. Why did the mind fall on the week that I was talking about the mind? What is this? And I think what I've come to, and of course there could be 1,000 ways to spin this, is that for me, I'm needing to unlearn a bunch of stories. I'm needing to unlearn a bunch of education. I'm needing to unlearn a bunch of things that my mind has taken on. I bought this statue at a time in my life where I was really contracted in my mind. Like I was living in my mind. I was not in my body. I was not in my intuition. I was not in my instincts. I was living from the neck up, developing my intellect and my smarts. And so I wonder if the falling of this was reminding me oh, you have so much more in terms of how you move through the world now than just your thinking, rational mind. So I cleaned it up and threw it away. So maybe this is a lesson for you as well. How is your mind limiting you? Do you need to break it open somehow? All right, and then the last question I want to pose to all of you tonight. This is a big one, right? Not that the other ones haven't been big, but this is a big one. What does my soul want? What does my soul want in this lifetime? So by the end of my life, when I'm on my deathbed, I want to make sure that I'm not lamenting that somehow I wasted my own potential, I wasted my gifts. So I want to make sure I live a life that's true to myself. So what does your soul want? So this is not an easy, maybe some of you, boom, just got a really clear answer. I don't think that this is an easy question for any of us. And I think it's probably, again, the question of our lifetime. But I want to take you through just a little bit of a practice to maybe help you receive some guidance, some information. We won't be here long, but I want to at least have you sit with some possibility in your own system of, maybe what does my soul want? So if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, you can sort of come into more of a meditative posture. You could certainly relax on the floor. You could relax back into a chair. Just going to take us on a little guided journey of, what might my soul be asking for? What am I here? What is my purpose? What am I here for? All right. So when you're ready, I encourage you to close your eyes. And when we close our eyes, we give our mind and really our whole system a very clear message that I'm turning in now. I'm turning my awareness in. So instead of being so engaged and caught up in the external world around us, I'm going to bring my full attention inward and sort of see what messages, what jewels, what guidance might be there waiting for me. And the journey inward is a more grounded journey when we also have that connection to our body. So take a moment to again feel your feet on the ground, feel your seat in the chair, feel where your hands are resting. If it's helpful, if you have a hard time feeling your body, you can even rub your arms or put your hand on your heart. Could also rock a little bit forward and back or side to side. Just beginning to really connect into physical sensation in your body. So, as we keep part of our awareness grounded and landed in the body, I invite you to take in a deeper breath into your belly. And as you exhale, see if you could maybe begin to extend or slow down the exhale, which starts to allow your nervous system to move more into its parasympathetic response. It helps. You could even count your inhale, and as you exhale, try to double that count. So, can you make your exhale about twice as long as your inhale? From this place where we are more connected to our body, connecting to our breath, now we work with each of our internal capacity to envision, to imagine. Talked a lot about this in this program, the power of our imagination, our creativity. So, in your mind's eye, please begin to envision a safe and beautiful place. This place could be in nature, this place could be indoors somewhere, it could be a place you actually know well. And it could be a place that your mind simply creates for you right now. So stay curious and open to where your mind wants to settle when you imagine yourself in a safe place. And you take in all the beautiful details of this place, the colors, the objects around you, the sounds. Maybe you're alone in your safe place. Maybe you've got what I always say, helpful others there. Again, don't force anything, just curious about what this safe place is like. And there's something very powerful about this safe place because here in this safe place, your body is very well, it's very healthy. It's a very vibrant, energetic, responsive, alive, intuitive body. Feel that. And in this safe place, your mind is also very clear, spacious, reflective, open. And in this safe place, your heart is compassionate, forgiving, soft. You might experience in this safe place a lightness of being. You just feel very light and open and yet grounded in the body at the same time. And the other magical thing about this safe place is that all of your material needs are covered. There's plenty of money in the bank, got amazing health care, plenty of food. Every material comfort that you would need is here with you in this safe place. And you're also surrounded with love. You feel love around you, whether it's love from others, love from self, just the love that permeates the universe. And so now that your physical, mental, emotional comfort needs are met, now I want to ask you the question, what do you want? What do you want if all of those needs are provided for? What do you really want? What's underneath all of it? If you stay here long enough, imagining that you have everything you need, but you still ask, what do I want? This is often when you begin to see what the soul wants. What is really your heart desiring in this lifetime? Why are you really here? We're here for more than just making money, going to work. What does your soul want? How are you here to shine your light? Use your gifts. You received any nudging from your soul, whether it came in the form of an image, a phrase, a word, a memory, an sort of scene. And if you heard nothing, soul is very quiet. Just take a moment to, express some gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for whatever came up or whatever didn't come up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And when you're ready, you can just rub your palms together, reinvigorate your system. You could place those hands over your eyes, let your eyes blink open, and then eventually release your hands down. So I'm curious. I mean, that was very brief. That could be a meditation we could sit in for the rest of our life, right? Like if really all of our material needs are met, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? I'd love to hear from any of you in that chat box. I took myself through this earlier today, and I just got a vision. It was very quick. That's sometimes how things come through. I was sitting on the earth, and there were sort of these dark clouds above me, and the clouds sort of parted, and there was like a beam of light that sort of came through down towards the earth, down towards me. And I sort of realized what my soul really wants is this realization that there is a lot of dark clouds, right? Like there's And what came to me in that moment is there's a lot of negative thinking. There's a lot of sort of dark mindset. And what I really want is to help break that open and allow the light to come through. It's funny because that's exactly what I'm talking about tonight. But that was the vision that I got. It's like, oh, that's what my soul really wants. That's what it really is here to help sort of break up this dark consciousness and remember that behind the clouds is a whole spacious, beautiful blue sky and sun. Yeah, someone says in the chat box here that connection is what they really want. Their soul really wants connections. Beautiful. Freedom, Karen says. Love, laughter, connection as well. Yeah. Truly is at the heart for most of us. We want to connect. Was it T.S. Eliot who said, only connect, right? Like that's what it's all about. Alina wants to make music. Katie wants to play. Anne wants to help raise vibration. Anna saw some sparkly exploration. I love that, Anna. Healing what is broken. A Huga atmosphere. I think that's how you say it. Huga atmosphere, like cozy spaces. Connection also came through for Len. Peace, ease, collaboration, to trust, working together as community to shift hatred, leading us to love for all. That's beautiful, Jane. Companionship, love, sharing joy, adventure. Yeah. I want all of those things too, right? As you read these ideas, none of us are putting in here that we want a Lamborghini or a new house that, has 1,000 rooms in it. No, we're putting like these basic human things. This is what our soul just longs for, aches for. Thank you for that. I hope that that was a useful exploration for you in the style of meditation that I practice and that I also teach. We talk about 4 soul questions, and these are the big 4 questions of life. And they are, who am I? What do I want? Which could be this one. What does my soul really want? What is my purpose? Like, why am I here? And then the 4th question is always, what am I grateful for? So this is a part of my daily meditation, is just kind of asking these questions. So what is it that I really want? And what is it that I'm here for? And again, they're questions that are meant to last our whole life. And they can change and morph based on what chapter of life we're in. So to start to close out tonight's class, in class 1, I talked about the archetype of the noble warrior, something I'd read about its relationship to hope. And I added the heroine because it feels sort of similar, or at least in the same lineage, same path. But the noble warrior is clearly brave and courageous, but they have purpose. They're willing to take action. A hopeful life, I think, is a life of service. It's a life of being in service to others, to the planet, to your animals, to your children, and to your own soul's evolution. This is why we're here. How can I serve? And again, left unattended, if we've been talking about this light, dark, hope, despair. If we don't take active action to cross that bridge of hope, we will end up in negativity, in despair, in woe is me, and, all that's wrong in the world. Because again, that's how our brains are literally wired. They are wired towards negativity. So it does take action. It does take a willingness to put in the time. I also think despair in some ways is much easier to choose. I'm just going to choose despair. Nothing's working out, than taking the action steps towards what it's going to take to bring more hope into your life. And so maybe all of us have become a version of the noble warrior as we've been on this path of hope together. The other thing that I feel like has happened, and I don't know this for fact, but it's more of a felt sense that I'm carrying, is that when one of us takes an action, it starts to ripple out. So if you think about, we had 1,049 people taking this class, all of us thinking more about hope, maybe all of us meditating, all of us just at least aligning more with what I might call the frequency or the vibration of hope. Can you imagine? Can you believe, can begin to even imagine the sort of ripples that we are collectively sending out? One final piece of little social science research that I think is very appropriate here for all of us when we think about the ripple effect. There's several studies that suggest it only takes about 25% of the population to adapt a new social norm. So it's sort of like activists can toil for decades and then suddenly, all at once, boom, there's like a rapid shift. Like the impossible happens. Like we can think about the women's suffrage movement, or we can think about gay marriage, right? It was like a minority had a desire or a belief, and then suddenly it's almost like the tipping point happens, and then boom, the majority culture takes on this new social norm. And so, why I think this is so important is that sometimes when we look at the world around us and we think, oh no, how is this going to work? Remembering that it's actually just takes a small proportion, actually a minority of people to find hope or to believe in something and to take action toward it, that then has this capacity to ripple out and really shift the bigger mindset. My teacher, my meditation teacher, Deepak Chopra, always said he wanted 1 million people to start to meditate. He believed that if 1 million people in the world started to meditate, that that would be the tipping point that would begin to shift consciousness. I have no idea. I'm guessing that there's probably 1 million people now. I know later he's like, I think I'm going to amp that up to 1 billion people now. But it's the idea that we don't all have to do it. Don't all have to do it. It'd be great if we all did it, but we don't all have to do it. But when enough people are taking action in a positive direction, it does then eventually ripple out to the larger population. So I want to end with this beautiful card that my friend, this beautiful piece of art that my friend Monica created. Monica also created your beautiful journals that you all got in the mail. And she created an oracle deck called the Earth Speaks. Earth Speak or Earth Speaks? I forgot the S. I apologize. She's here with me. But I actually, I was lucky enough to sort of watch Monica's birthing process with this whole beautiful deck that she created. And when she showed me this piece of art, and it was called the murmuration, I was like, I don't know that word, Monica. So Monica taught me this word. Maybe you don't know this word either, but murmuration is clearly when a big flock of birds sort of fly together in unison. I'm sure you've watched this. It's kind of a very powerful thing to observe. And I want to read what Monica wrote. She's got a beautiful book that goes along with this card deck about what she wrote about murmuration, because I believe actually it's what we're doing in this class at an energetic level. So you don't have to know, I don't know all 1,000 people in this class, but I think it's what collectively we're doing together energetically, whether we're aware of it or not. So Monica writes, to witness a murmuration of starlings is a magical thing. A murmuration is an example of emergence, collective behavior in which a group does something together that the individual components could not do alone. In the case of murmuration, each bird responds moment by moment to the movements of its neighbors. It reminds us that we are individual beings who are also simultaneously connected to communities and part of ecosystems that are much larger than ourselves. So, what I think about murmuration and what we've been doing collectively as a group is something far bigger than any of us could do alone. So, I read, as my friends joked with me, I read every book I could find about hope. But that was one individual person. Then we come together in this larger, bigger collective and we start thinking about hope, talking about hope. I can't tell you how many emails I got from people who was like, I saw this hope sticker, or I saw this hope quote, or I saw this newsletter on hope, right? So our vision is now attuned to hope. So we're seeing it more. And so collectively, we really are furthering what to me feels like a movement of more hope. How beautiful is that? So thank you, Monica, for sharing that beautiful art. And Monica, these cards are amazing and gorgeous, and you can purchase them. I hope you put that in the little chat box. And if you're coming to the summit, Monica is not only going to have her cards there, but she's also going to have some prints. I think you have the murmuration print, don't you? You can buy the print if you want to hang this on your wall. Okay, we are not quite done with Tend Her. We have the rest of this week to go. Fanny, you saw Fanny in week 2, and Fanny has been a part of the Tinter team for many years. She cannot be at the summit. So I was like, can you do an extra thing during the week? So she's going to do a yoga nidra for integrating all of the work we've done on hope. And she's a master at yoga nidra. She's done so many trainings on this, and she's got such an amazing voice. And so come to do sort of an integrative hope integration session with Fanny. And again, it'll be recorded if you can't make it live. We'll also send out Andrea's final video. I hope you've been enjoying watching her videos on taking these concepts that I teach about on Monday night in a little deeper way. I've been totally loving hearing where she takes it and learning so much more via her. There's more Glimmer events through Sunday. In fact, I just checked out the website today and I'm like, God, there are so many cool things going on through Sunday. So get out there. I have attended quite a few of them, and it really is beautiful to get out and see people and do things that spark positive, joyful feelings. So this is our final week. Of course, these events keep going on, but we will not keep updating them on this page. But check out some of those, and then the summit. So if you'd love to come to the summit, we would love to have you. On our first day together, I opened our circle. I played a little bell, a little gong to sort of officially open the circle. And I want to let you all know that I will officially energetically close the circle with that same bell. I'm just not going to do it tonight because we still have through really Friday. So I'm going to ring the bell after the summit Friday at 5 p.m. So then it means that it's the idea whenever we open something sacred like a circle of hope, we want to close that when it's finished. That's powerful and important. So clearly, you can be watching this video 3 months from now, and you will still be able to energetically tap into what we did during this month. But I will officially close the circle Friday at 5. So, even any of you are at the summit, would love to have you be a part of that. So, questions. Thank you all too. I really, this has been a labor of love by so many people. It does take a village to put something on like this, and I'm so grateful to the whole Tinder team. Monica specifically, she's been behind the scenes on all of those meditations and the websites, and Kimberly, just so grateful for all the people and all the people that are going to come to the summit. So thank you for being a part of this. And just my final thoughts before we go into questions is just please spread the light, spread your light. You have a unique, beautiful gift, many gifts to offer. And as I said in one of these earlier classes, I feel so strongly it's not the time to play small anymore. We're being asked to step up in new ways. Doesn't mean we have to do something uh, huge, right? Doesn't mean that we have to like do something extremely public. Our thing that we might be contributing is building gardens and writing letters and caring for children and baking bread and say no to the things that are toxic, but all of us are being asked to be of service and to step up. So we can do it. All right. Let's get into some of the questions that we've got going on here tonight. Okay, let me look in my. Jess, that's a great question. Do you need to have your own children to heal forward? No, I get asked that a lot. No, because of course, Jess, you are engaged with people in generations that are behind you, whether it's through the workplace, whether it's through nieces and nephews, whether through children you engage with, even people that are just a generation behind you that may be in their 20s, right? So we are all interconnected, whether we share the same lineage, the same bloodstream. So the idea is that we are healing backwards, but even if we don't have children, we are still healing the family line going forward just by our presence, by what we contribute, by how we show up. It's a great question. How does healing work backwards? So Karen, I think I gave you that example of for me. Um, so how do we heal backwards? Mm. So I think we heal backwards energetically. I'm trying to think about how to answer this in a way that doesn't feel so woo woo and out there and a little bit more simplistic. Even from a quantum physics level, the idea is that everything is sort of happening in the now. So, whatever we're doing in the now is impacting, you know, basically when we're in these human meat suits here, things are all linear, right? Like we come, we're born, and then we die. But more at a quantum level, there is not linear time. And so when we're doing our healing work in the here and now in this linear time, we are energetically moving back. We can move back. We can heal ancestral patterns. We can heal ancestors. And we can heal forward. And that makes more sense, the healing forward. Um, but I do believe that. So I told you I'm healing my throat, that I'm wanting to heal backwards to the women in my lineage who couldn't have a voice, who couldn't say no, who couldn't say this isn't okay, this isn't right. They had to swallow things. Do I actually know that my grandmother is getting a healing? No, of course not, but it's at a deeper energetic level. Um, it's not a very practical answer. I realize that it's a little bit more spiritual, a little bit more esoteric. Um, but I do think that it works. It's again, it's that hermetic polarity again. Um, we're all in the same line. You know, we might be here, our lineage is back here, the future's here, but it's the same line. So whatever healing we do here, it reverberates out both directions. I hope that was helpful, Karen. I don't know if it was. Mm. Michelle asked, this is a little bit from last week as well. I have a question about the 60 to 80,000 thoughts we have per day. I saw, read somewhere that the statistic increases in times of stress. Absolutely. Can you speak to that, to why, and how that relates to energy expenditure? I think I don't know how it relates to energy expenditure. I'll be honest with you about that, Michelle. But um, our minds are designed to create thought. Our hearts are designed to pump blood. Our muscles are designed to help us, move. And when there is stress, we are trying to figure out the solution, how to move through it, how to get through it, how to survive. And so I guess that is why it's related to energy expenditure. So the idea is that when we are in times of stress, our mind creates even more thought. There's more energy going on up here because we're trying to figure out how to stay alive, how to create a solution. Whereas when we're in more of a rest and digest state, when we meditate, that is when we get more space between each of our thoughts. Um, So I don't know exactly why, but things speed up, and we all inherently know that, right? When you're under great source of stress, it's why we can't sleep when we're stressed out, right? The mind is just racing, racing, racing. So yeah, having a lot of kindness and compassion for yourself when things are stressful, because your mind is going to be busier. It is going to be harder to sit in meditation when you're highly stressed out. It is going to be harder to find solution when you're highly stressed out. And that's why these daily practices are so helpful for us to have a practice to rely on, even when there's intense stress. Yeah, Tend Her 4.0, as well as the previous Tend Her classes, are all free. They all live on the Dr. Yoga Mama website store. It's store.dryogamama.com. That's where you can access all of the Tend Her classes, and they're all free. And they will just stay there in perpetuity. I mean, they're going to stay there. They're not going anywhere. So yes, you can continue to have people join. Live webinars will be done, but all of the content, including the 21 meditations, including the yoga that was taught during this month, that's all staying in that content, the Thinkific site. Erica asks, I had a meaningful conversation with my mother, age 89, and my sister, age 65, around ancestral hopelessness. And when the conversation shifted to ancestors, our energy shifted to trying to understand their actions and decisions in light of the culture times in which they lived. And oddly, we each had a moment of awareness about our own interactions. My question is, have you done a Wisdom Wednesday on this topic? I have not, but clearly, Erica, I think I want to. I've read and studied a lot about just ancestral trauma and how it does go through family lines. And I completely agree that we often cannot, our ancestors didn't have the resources, they didn't have the time, they didn't have the knowledge basis, they didn't have the books, they didn't have the therapists, they didn't have all this stuff we have now to be able to help them work through those traumas, to help them work through the stuckness, the darkness they were carrying, the hopelessness, like you were saying, the ancestral hopelessness. And so ancestral work is not work to blame and to go back and say, oh, I can't believe that grandma did this or mom did this or dad did this. Rather, it's often, I think most of us are doing the best we can with our current level of consciousness. And they do say that every generation becomes more conscious. So my children are going to be more conscious than me, right? So each generation is able to see things from perhaps a higher perspective. So I actually think that ancestral work can be very healing because it can give us a lot of space for forgiveness, realizing that maybe the traumas that were passed from generation to generation, whether it's alcoholism or abuse, that they were just repeating what they had seen and what they had learned. But I think there's so much to be done around the ancestral piece. So I really love, I do always take suggestions for Wisdom Wednesday. So I will do that in the next couple months, Erica. So stay tuned. No, yes, a friend does not have to have done the 4 Her classes to come to the event on Friday. It stands alone. So yes, anyone and everyone is welcome to the Friday event. If one wants to dive deeper into the healing of the 7 generations, I have such a good book on this, but I can't remember the title off the top of my head. So I will make sure that I get the title of that book in the notes that go underneath this video so you can go check that out. But yeah, it's the Iroquois Nation. In fact, got the quote from them. Let me see if I can give you a little bit more information about this right now. And then I'll make sure I put um, I can find it amongst all of my notes. Hang tight with me here. So, part of the Iroquois Confederacy statement said that in our every deliberation, we must consider the impact of our decisions on the next 7 generations. So, as I did some research on this, it was like the Iroquois Nation were very focused on the generations going forward, where the Lakota tribes were also talking about the healing going back 7 generations. So that's what I have from it. But I do have an amazing book on generational trauma, and I'll make sure that that gets into the notes underneath this video. Oh, see, you guys are, I can tell we definitely have to dive into this a little bit more because here's another question on the ancestral piece. How does it work if your children have been born and maybe adults now, not in our homes to heal forward? It still will work, right? Their DNA is set, but we're also talking about energetics. We're talking about our energetics. So let's say, hypothetically, I mean, we have great capacity. Our energy has great capacity to shift other people's energy. I think I talked about it in one of these classes. It's a concept called entrainment that it's a scientific concept. Like if you put multiple clocks on a wall, they entrain with one another, meaning they start to tick together. You put a group of women in a house together, they start to menstruate at the same time. So it's this concept of entrainment. So it's this idea that our energy has the capacity to entrain other people into our energy. And so if you think about this, let's say hypothetically that I'm able to really clear and do all kinds of deep healing on myself. Then I bring that energy back in time to my parents' home or my grandparents' home. And my energy field has the capacity, my mindset has the capacity to heal the energy there, as does it going forward. So I hear the very rational idea of, well, their DNA is set. I've already given them their DNA. This is happening at an energetic, a mental, a psychological level as well. So I think the deeper teaching of this 7 generations is that we have so much more power than we know. And that just even our presence alone, our vibration, our frequency has a great deal of impact on those around us, which is why ideally we keep our vibration high because that does bring healing to people, even if they're not consciously aware. So much of this is happening at a deeper, more unconscious level. Okay, another good question. You guys are throwing hard ones at me tonight. If it only takes 25% of people to start a new social norm, is that true for negativity and evil too? I'm thinking, for instance, of Moms for Liberty, which is apparently a very small group, but is having a big impact by pushing to ban books and stopping kids from learning history accurately. If so, how do the negative and positive interact to create good in the world? Such a great question. So I will also throw in the citations. There are not there's just a handful of studies. And so there are a couple social studies that have looked at this idea that it takes actually a small percent of the population. It's not that small, it's a quarter of the population to shift social norms. But I think they've been looking at it more from a positive perspective. I will put those resources in again underneath the video, but I don't know. It's actually a really good question. Does negativity spread as quickly? Now, there is some data that suggests lies spread quicker than truth in social networks. But that book that I showed you on social connectivity, they're very clear, and they've done a lot of research on this, that positive things like happiness and well being spread much quicker and more robustly through social networks than negative things like depression and cynicism. So, but I don't know the exact piece to, does this 25% social norms, does it have to be positive social norms or could it be negative social norms? I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that positive qualities are more robust and go stronger and quicker through social networks than negative things. So, all right. Next question. This is just a thought that Michelle brought up regarding ancestral healing, which I think is useful to share. There's multi generational depression in my family, including mine. So, all the work I do to heal, all the work I express outward is helping to heal what happened before, as well as energetically healing future people. So well said. And then here's another beautiful see, we're collectively wiser together. This is a thought from Carrie regarding ancestral healing. When you're healing yourself, ask Creator, God, larger energy, larger life force to pull those lessons backwards and forwards through all space, all time, and in all languages. It's brilliant, Carrie. Yeah. Life is very much more mysterious than we like to believe it is. So we like to have these rational ideas of how things work, and science is great. I love science, and there's a lot of mystery out there. And so I agree that that is a beautiful way to think about it, Carrie. Thank you for that. Okay, guys are chatting away. I love it, but I'm having a hard time to see. Is there anything else that I'm missing, Monica? Okay, here. Lots of thank yous. Um, Thank you, Barb. She says she's feeling gratitude for these hope fueled weeks and holding the energy of hope so it can become the soul work and action the world so deeply needs. Yes, said so beautifully, Barb. Sandy, I'm so for sure going to do something on ancestral healing because there's so many great questions about this. Sandy wants to know, can ancestral healing help with a relationship with your mother, who's quite old but still active and mentally very fit? Are there good resources? So the idea again of ancestral healing is that when we do our own healing work, it is going backwards and forwards. There isn't a specific task that we have to do per se, but when we heal our own system because we're interconnected, because we're part of the whole, that reverberates out. It's that image of the ripple. When we do our work, the inner balance we find or the healing, the more peace that we find, it ripples backwards, it ripples forwards. So I think it's that idea of like just keep taking care of yourself, keep listening to yourself, and that is going to then ripple out in goodness both directions. Thank you, Karen, too, for that beautiful gratitude. Yeah, there's lots of gratitude going on. I'm really grateful too for um, just a group of people who want to explore hope, who want to um, do the work, who want to move towards light and also hold the darkness, right? So remember, hope is not the Pollyanna view of everything's going to be okay. It's like I'm going to struggle and hold both of these. I didn't talk about this, but it seems relevant now. I mean, it was Carl Jung who was really the one who kind of coined the idea of the tension of opposites. And he spoke about when we hold the tension of opposites long enough, there will be a third way that comes. There's no timing as to how long it takes, but when we're willing to hold things that feel very opposite and we hold on to them for a period of time, there will be a new path. There will be a third that comes, a third way that comes. And that to me is also hopeful, right? If we sit in the pain and the hope long enough, there is another path that seems to open if we stay with it long enough. Yeah, and I will also put in the notes section of tonight's video how to get Monica's beautiful Oracle deck cards. Yes, we will for sure get that in the notes for tonight's class. Jane, I love this. Um, yeah, Jane, I agree that when we started to work with hope, I kind of wanted to say like, oh, what the hell? Let's just open this to everyone. And I agree. Jane says, I'm going to watch it again with my husband so we can work with hope and all the meditations too. And I agree. This is not a course just for women. The reason we did it for women is this is historically where the grant has come from. Is it started out as that women were struggling more post-pandemic. And so we were trying to figure out some mental health intervention that could be potentially useful to women, which is why we called it Tend Her. And it's just kind of gotten bigger and, morphed into many different components. But agreed, hope is not just for women. Hope is for men. Hope is for trans people. Hope is for children. Hope is for the elderly. Hope is for everyone. So absolutely, you can share this course with anyone. They do not have to be a her or identify as a her to receive the teachings of hope. So, yes, get those men onto this as well. I would love that. Monica's do you want to share that quote? I have it right here. I saw Monica's busy over here keeping track of all of these things. Any other questions? I am now in the chat as well. Okay, third question, the Q&A box. Great. Sorry, I'm looking for it. Sorry, Michelle, as I see you're writing that you left a third question in the Q&A box, and I'm not, sorry, there's a lot in here. Um, is it the question about, you spoke about the collective and ancestral, but I didn't hear you mention the personal. Did I miss that? Yeah, the personal was we talked about what actions do you want to take for your body? What actions do you want to take for your mind? How do you quiet the mind? And then what is your soul trying to tell you? So we did go through the personal as well, the body, the mind, and the soul. I think that's the question you're writing about regarding. And thank you, Jane says, in a world so broken, Tinter was a pure gift. Yeah, I think it's a very pure energy, hope, and where it can take all of us. So I agree. It's very easy to see all the brokenness. And so it did feel, and that was, I think, the big lesson for me in these last 4 weeks is I watched myself, I witnessed myself, how easy it is to go towards the negativity. I watched it in myself, negativity around the news, negativity around people, negativity about stuff at home. Just I could see myself. And it was so good for me to be in these teachings and remind myself, oh, Betsy, left unaware, your mind is going to go towards all that stuff. So you've got to be more consciously working on looking for hope, engaging in things that create hope, being around people that instill hope, being around high vibrational people. So it was so useful for me to watch that. So I think again, hope is action. We have to stay with it. It's not now that we're over with Tend Her, we all have to still be working with it forever, probably, and ever and ever. All right. Anything else? Hope to see many of you at the Tend Her Summit. Um, this is the last year that the grant is available. So I think we are retiring Tend Her. But who knows? Maybe it'll come through in a different form next year or something else will come through. So stay tuned. And I will be here for Wisdom Wednesday in about a week and a half. So you can find me there again. And I've got a couple retreats. You could join me in Greece this fall. There's just a couple spots left. We're going to go to Paros, Greece. And then next, this one has not been released yet, but it will be released in the next week or two. May of 2026 back to Costa Rica, which is my favorite retreat center. So, a couple chances to come and work live and in person. All right, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Someone asked me, what are you going to do when this is done? And I'm like, I'm going to sleep. I've been waking up every morning to help send those meditations out. I'm going to sleep and rest and go undercover for a while. But it is a true gift. And I'm so grateful to the Mental Health Disability Services of Eastern Iowa and May Hintgen in particular for believing in this work and continuing to support it. And you guys can feel all those ripples. So I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. And I know we put some goodness out into the world. All right. Anything else, Monica? Is there anything else?
It's a big thank you.
Big thank
Big
you.
winners.
Here, can I turn this? You guys can see Monica over there. There she is. Mwah. Yes. Couldn't it was Monica whose idea was hope too. So full full gratitude to her for bringing through hope.
Just came through.
Yes, Jane, beautiful. Where can we share the grant, where the grant came from? Okay, so it's the Eastern Iowa Mental Health and Disability Services of Eastern Iowa. I'll put in May's Hintgen is the woman who's the CEO of the Eastern Iowa Mental Health Disability Services, and that's all changing as of this summer. But you could let them know, May, and maybe we can find. Can we find an address for the?
We'll try.
Okay, Monica's gonna try to see if we can find an address for it. Or you could send it to Heartland Yoga at 221 East College Street, Iowa City, and I will make sure to hand deliver it to May. That's probably the easiest way. If you want to send words of gratitude to the Eastern Iowa Disability Services, Mental Health Disability Services, I will bring it by hand to May and her team. She's got a team of 15 people. Many of them are going to be at the day-long event. So if you want to write anything, I promise I will get it to that team of people who have been gracious to give us this grant for the last 4 years. All right. Oh, great. You found at least a link there. Awesome. Okay, well, I kind of don't want to turn it off because it feels like we've created something so beautiful here. But all good things do come to an end. So, really grateful for all of you and your continued interest and support and developing yourself, knowing thyself. Um, Thank you. I can't wait to see many of you in person. If you did tend her and you've got the bracelet, show me. If I happen to be in the bread garden, I don't know you, introduce yourself. And yeah, just grateful for all of your support and your interest. We wouldn't do this if people didn't show up and were interested in all of this. So mwah, 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 mwah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Big love back at you. And we'll see you soon.